Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Jamie from OzTREKK. It's weird because I just lost my screen. It is 5:20, so I'm going to get going. I'm in an office here in Toronto. Okay, Sarah is online. She just put herself on mute. But if you have any questions, you can ask them and she'll probably ask me at the end. I'll try to go through this fairly quickly. Just to give you a bit of an understanding of what studying in Australia is like coming from high school. So for our undergraduate students, and I actually am going to kind of skip through this, but essentially our whole hour being OzTREKK, our whole goal is that you're really prepared to study. And we like to talk about being as student first as possible. Everybody in the office will say that. And so if you have any questions, about financing, about which program is the best for you, what to apply to, if you're competitive, like where to live, it's literally what we're there for. A lot of times students will say, I'm sorry I asked you so many questions. And my answer is always, it is our job. And it's what we're here for. So anyway, I'm gonna just really quickly go over the next couple slides to give everybody an idea of a little bit of geography. So first of all, Australia is in the southern hemisphere, meaning that the north of the country is closer to the equator and is in the tropics, so it's warmer, and the south is where you go to get cooler. Folks in Australia will describe Melbourne as cold. I don't know if anybody from Canada would use the same language because it's not really like our kind of cold, but it is definitely colder. So we have uni partners all over the coast, from the north, JCU up in Cairns and Townsville, down through Melbourne in the south, and on the other side of the country, you've got Perth in Western Australia, where you will get some of the greatest sunshines or sunsets ever. So what is important, I maybe should have alternated these two slides, is in addition to Australia being in the southern hemisphere, it means the seasons are flipped. So the commencement of programs, so the start of programs is at the beginning of the school year, which is generally late February, early March in Australia. So that is very similar to here, kind of late summer, early fall. So what it means to us is, for the most part, you'll apply to programs about a year in advance, or at least you'll start your application. So if you're in, say, grade 12 right now, and you're looking at applying to a dental program or a medical program or an arts program or anything else, you will likely start your application around January, February of next year, so of 2022, through the rest of the school year. So as you're working hard, trying to get good grades, because that's the secret of getting an offer, we'll just kind of hold tight. We'll be accepting some documents for your applications. And then for us, our busy months are kind of at the end of your final year. So at the end of grade 12, when we will be submitting a lot of applications to the universities. Offers tend to start coming out in the summer, in the North American summer. And students make decisions around that time. And then right around now is when our intakes tend to be kind of settled, the cohort settle. So students have accepted and they've moved into what we call our pre-departure program. And that is when we will give you all the information about living and transit and buying groceries and all of the things. And then again, your program will start in February. Like I said before, the seasons are reversed. So Aussies will have their summer over the holidays and their winter is in like July. So just be aware, if you're ever talking with an Aussie university partner or somebody studying there, when they're referring to the seasons, they are the opposite ones to us. This is just a slide so you can get a little enjoyment of some waves and some reefs while we look at this. So one of the common questions we get is around cost of living and how to finance it. So I've just got a quick slide here. Really simply, cost of living is fairly comparable to living here in Canada. There are incremental costs, of course, the first being a flight across the ocean. And the other thing is related to health insurance. So because Australia has a public healthcare system, just like we do here in Canada, it's a requirement that you sort of buy into the public healthcare there. So if you if you break a leg or if you need any services, you can go to the hospital just like any other citizen. But in general, we recommend, that students plan for about $21,000 to $24,000 a year in living. And so that intention of that is for everything. So it's for your books, it's for your accommodations and transit and entertainment and food and all of the things. The one thing to be aware of is the biggest element of cost of living is really where you're living. And so that can fluctuate a lot. So it can go up a lot, it can go down a lot. If you're living in the city center of Sydney or Melbourne, it will be substantially more expensive than living in the suburbs or going to a smaller school, like, I shouldn't say a smaller school, but a smaller city like Geelong or Brisbane, where the cost of living is substantially different. But these are a bunch of things that we can discuss with you as well. And then the other half of the cost is, how do I pay for it? So the vast majority of students pay for all of their education through one of three, I shouldn't say one of three ways, really a combination of three ways. So first is student loans, and those are provincial student loans. So if you're in Ontario and if you're in Ontario, you can apply for OSAP, BC Student Aid, Alberta Student Loans. So those are programs that are available to you as well, even if you study abroad. Really roughly, Ontario students get about $9,000, BC students get about $20,000, and Alberta students get about $30,000 a year. So once you get into BC and Alberta money, it can substantially cover the cost of your living expenses, which is a great option. The other big thing is a professional student line of credit. So most of our students will go to a bank like CIBC or RBC or ATB in Alberta and get a professional student line of credit to support them in their studies. And then the final thing here is personal savings or family savings or gifts. So if you have a grandmother who has given you money or something like that, that can also contribute. Scholarships is another important thing. I think generally we try to dissuade students from banking on scholarships, and I think it's still the right thing to do. A scholarship isn't going to necessarily, nobody is getting a free ride. I don't want anybody to think that. But there are some schools that have substantial scholarships. Most of them tend to be fairly small in nature, maybe $5,000 award or a $10,000 award. But Griffith has got some great programs. We have some students that are getting like 25% off their degree, which is a huge amount of money if you think about the cost of like a 5-year dental degree. So it's definitely an option. I would definitely encourage students to chat with family and friends and banks to make sure that you can generally afford it, and then really look at scholarships as like the cherry on top. The other thing I was just going to say there is about rates. The Aussie dollar is worth less than the Canadian dollar. So every Canadian dollar that you transfer tends to be worth a little bit more. So if you ever see something like $20,000, so the cost of living $20,000 Australian or 21, it's probably equivalent roughly to like $19,000 Canadian. So you'll get a little bit of a benefit there. So one of the most common questions we get at the office, regardless of program, is what's the best university? And we always try to change this question because we all feel quite strongly there isn't really a best university as much as there is a best university for you, because some people thrive in big unis and some people thrive in smaller unis. But I do know that going to another part of the world, you're really unfamiliar and you're just kind of going by names. But this slide is really just to show you that in the top 100, Australia has 5 universities listed in the top 100 universities in the country, in the world. Canada has 4. So they're really comparable. It's a comparable education system. Everybody here has heard of U of T and UBC and McGill. Very similar in Australia. Everybody's heard of University of Queensland or Monash or Sydney or Melbourne. And if I continue on the list, some smaller universities like MAC or like Western or U of A are really comparable to a Macquarie or a Deakin or a JCU. So all of that to say that there are really great options for you, and all of our partners are strong and well ranked and have great student support. So it's just to level set a little bit there for you. Another thing that becomes really important if you're coming from high school is this is going to be your first time living away from home. And we will have a lot of graduate students who want to live on their own. So they've already done the college, they've already done the residence thing here in Canada. For students coming from high school, I like strongly encourage you to consider living in a college, which is equivalent to our residence. There are a ton of options. They're being built all the time also. So all of the unis have development underway. Like there's just so many options. You can have women's residences and science residences and international student residences, and there's just a million options. But what they give you is it takes all of the uncertainty away for you. It means you can book in advance. You know exactly what you're getting. You can pick your meal plan if you want to have some food cooked or all food cooked or whatever. You want a single room, you want a double, you want a dorm. There's lots of options. Most of the colleges also come with packages where you can buy like your bed sheets and your towels and everything. So you literally won't have to worry about anything. It just makes it really easy. The other thing that colleges offer, in addition to just the physical building, is there's tons of support and programs for students. There are often tutoring programs where first and second year students might benefit from them, and then upper year students can make money doing it as well. There's tutoring programs, there's welfare programs, there's lots of social and sport activities. So it kind of means that something that can be intimidating for students when they first arrive in Australia is you get off the plane and you don't know anyone and you're not really sure where to go and you're nervous. And this will put you in an environment where everybody's the same. Everybody is living away from home. And you'll just kind of instantly have a group of people around you. I've always felt like it's a nice way to do study in Australia, because you're going to get to know the people in your faculty. Those are the people with whom you're going to be studying for the next 4 years. And this just gives you another whole social group that you can interact with. So these things, there's also lots of mental health, emotional, spiritual support. Some of the residences will be like church-based or belief-based. And so there's just kind of like a huge variety for you. Yes, so degree options. I can't see, actually, I do see a chat right now. Oh, no, nobody has asked any questions. But what I was just gonna say is, I just skipped over the last one. We tend to get a lot of questions about medicine and dentistry. Oh, I can't go back on this. There we go. Tend to get a lot of questions about medicine and dentistry. If you have any questions, you can let us know, or you can just go into the chat, the med and dent rooms, or rehab science or law, and ask your questions there. But most of those programs follow the similar structure that I mentioned earlier, which is kind of January, February of this year. If you're in grade 12, we will start your application. Once you finish your grade 12 scores, we will, like June, we'll submit your applications, and then offers will come through the summer. So you should be able to have a response as you go into the school year. The other thing, I went around it a little bit earlier, but a lot of times we get a lot of questions about what makes a really great application. You know, what if I volunteer at a dental clinic? What if I volunteer at a physio clinic? Does that help? Those are things that will really help an application in in Canada. Those are often requirements. You know, you need to work at a clinic or something like that. That is not what will get you an offer in Australia. What will get you an offer is really strong scores. So great grade 12 scores. So your top 6 if you're in Ontario, 5 if you're in Alberta and BC. And Saskatchewan. And the reason I say that is a lot of times students will sometimes at the expense of their studies will do a whole bunch of extracurricular things. And while I think it's super important for you to have a great for you to have a great grade 12 year and enjoy your experience because you're not getting it again. Really focusing on your studies will be the single biggest thing you can do to get an offer. We are just on the edge of getting our Griffith dentistry offers. They're going to come out tonight. And people who are going to get an offer are the people who have really strong grade 12 grades. So if there's one little thing I'll leave you with, it is study hard. So the reason I wanted to show this slide is we often can get talking about med and dent and physio and law a lot because we have a lot of students interested in it. But we can support students for any type of program. We're partners with 14 universities, and they're huge institutions like the University of Toronto or UBC or U of A, where you can have any number of programs. So you want architecture, Bond has a great architecture program. You want to get into like a very specific like diagnostic radiography program, Sydney has a great one. And so these are just kind of general themes, but there are just a wealth of really great programs in Australia. Once you get into public health and conservation, marine biology, there's just nowhere better in the world to study it. And JCU and UQ are going to have great programs there. So if you ever have questions about any of those programs, you can always get back to us as well. I think I'm about to run out of time, but really quickly, I'll just go over medicine and dentistry because I suspect there's people on the call interested in it. But really roughly, the starting point of being competitive to undergraduate medicine, the programs are between 5 and 6 years. It kind of varies because there's quite a few program options, is really around 90% of your top 5 or 6 grade 12 courses. Some students with a little bit less than that will get in, but that's an option for you, just to know about. Sorry, I got distracted by a comment. And then dentistry, the other thing, dentistry is probably our most competitive program. And what I mean by competitive, it is the program for which there are the most number of students who have strong grades and don't get an offer or don't get a seat. Most of the programs in Australia are really constrained by physical space for dentistry. So to be a dental student, you need a chair and you need the lab and you need all of the things around it. So it's an expensive undertaking and it's just not finite, or it's not infinite, sorry, it is finite. So here we have kind of printed that the minimum average is 86 to 94, depending on the program for dentistry, but the starting point of competitive is really quite a bit north than that. So we'll probably see the starting point of competitive this year for dentistry is probably going to be 94-ish. Again, that's an average of your top 5 or 6 grade 12 courses. Something that's important is if you go on our website and you're looking at a program and it says you have to have taken grade 12 English, grade 12 English, if it's a requirement, you need to have taken it. It's easy breezy, you need to get the credit, but it doesn't necessarily need to be one of your top. So the two assessments are different. So if there are a list of requirements, you need to have taken the courses, but they do not need to be your top 5 or 6. And that's it. I blew through it pretty quickly. If there are any questions, I'm much better at questions. If there are any questions, you can just pop them over in the chat. And I've got a couple minutes. Sarah said I have like 3 minutes, and I will happily answer any of them. I think the other thing maybe just to mention coming from high school is one kind of advantage that you'll get is you'll have a big group around you. So in a normal year, we haven't been able to do it the last 2 years, but I expect next year we will. There will be a big pre-departure event in Toronto and Calgary and Vancouver, where you'll get to go and meet all of the students who are going to Australia. So you won't feel alone in that. And in addition to that, there will be a student contact list. So you will be provided kind of like before you've even left from Canada, you will be provided contacts for other people in your program, other people kind of in your university or doing the same thing as you. Because I think probably the most nervous thing is like, who are my friends going to be and how am I going to meet them? And we try to set you up as best as possible in that regard as well. That's all I have. Other than a really cute little koala here. That's it. I'll leave with the beach.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jamie. And thanks so much for joining. Make sure to head back to Career Echo and keep the questions coming, and check out our presentation schedule for the next ones that are coming up throughout the evening. Thanks so much.
Bye.